today's video, we are going to be creating our very own whimsical imaginary desert landscape. But before we dive into the step-by-step of how I created mine, I want to go over the art supplies that I'm using. So then that way you know what I've got, and if you have anything similar, you can use the same materials as well. I want to start off with my paints and the color palette that I chose to go with. So I'm going to be using a split color profile. So I'm doing, a split complementary color profile. I'm doing a blue-green, like a tealy color, and then I'm going to be mixing it with a orangey yellow as well as a pink. But my pink that I'm choosing to go with is more of a fluorescent magenta. Now, this has a slight cool tone to it, and I really love this color. If you're not familiar with the brand Nova Color, that's okay. It's also new to me. If you've seen my previous video, this is new and I've only been painting with it for a little while, but I really am enjoying the colors that I'm using today. Like, these colors together look amazing. So I'm using fluorescent magenta. If you don't have something like this, you can just use just regular magenta. That's okay. For my orangey color, I'm using Indian yellow. And for my blue-green, I'm using blue-green. This is really kind of like a teal color and it's beautiful. Absolutely love it. For mixing, I'm going to be using white and peach tone. I really like how this peach tone just gives warm colors when mixing and creating different variations. So that's why I'm using it as a white alternative when mixing. I'm also going to be using some mixed media supplies. So I am a big fan of mixing in other things with different layering techniques and things like that. So I have these Marabou art crayons that are also new to me and I've been very much enjoying, along with these Derwent Inktense blocks. Again, another new thing to me that I am really enjoying using. And then we have some Posca pens, some Neo colors, and this right here is just one of those basic makeup applicator thingy-mabobbers. But I don't use it for my face. I use it for smudging things. As for the paintbrushes for today, use what you have on hand and what you prefer to use. I really am a huge fan of flat. So I primarily use these brushes for almost everything I do. I recommend having one large brush, and I realize I don't have it with me on the desk right now, but at the beginning stages for your first layer, we're gonna be using one big one, and then we're gonna start using the smaller ones. And I also recommend having a paintbrush for doing small detail work when we get to the end. For the surface in which I'm going to be painting my painting on, I'm using watercolor paper that's been pre-gessoed with this acrylic Liquitex gesso. This here is a white. You can use any surface that you like. If you prefer to paint on canvas or on wood, you do that. The only reason why I pre-gesso my watercolor paper is because watercolor paper is absorbent. If you want to learn more about gessoing, I have a video for that. I will try to remember to link it in the description section below in case you want to just check it out. It is about like 4 years old, so it's a little far to scroll to find it in my channel, so that's why I'll link it. And last but not least, I do want to just state that if you are interested in doing this, you can. I like to use a sketchbook to mark off all the colors that I'm using when I'm creating. It allows me to make sure I'm remixing the exact same color, or to see if my colors go well together as I'm painting before I try a new mix on the canvas. I also really enjoy just journaling afterwards, but if you're new to this as a tool towards using art as a tool towards healing, try it out. for today's painting. Grab a scrap piece of paper or just grab one of your sketchbooks that you've been using and flip it to an open spread and try using one page for your color swatching and the next page for just jotting down how you felt afterwards or during your painting process. All right, now that we've gone over all of that, let's get into the actual painting. The first step is to get rid of that blank white page that you're staring at. What I like to do is use my mark making tools and really just unwind, move my body. It gets me to loosen up before I start painting. It allows me to even clear my mind even further. So what I'm doing is I'm using my art crayons and my Derwent Inktense blocks. Sometimes I'll use colored pencils and things like that. Even leftover paint that I might have sitting on a palette somewhere. I do this for myself because it allows me to let loose, relax my body, get my body moving, but also I find in the creative process, it allows me to channel the energy that I have in my body. So if I'm feeling really anxious or anything like that, moving my body around and making these marks kind of helps me release it from my body so I can quiet my mind down so I can start to paint. Once you've gotten rid of that blank page, that's when you can start working on just randomly putting down some paint. I decided to start with painting where I think the mountains and the rocks should be. So once I have that down, I'm going to start going in and again, randomly putting colors down. And somewhere along the line, I might mix the wrong color and put it down, but that's okay. This is layer one. Layer one is where you're going to just randomly start mapping things out. And eventually we're going to paint over it. So we might not like a place where we put something, or we might change it with a different color. That's okay. This is just to get you figuring out what kind of desert landscape you have. I was heavily inspired by watching an Apple TV show called The Reluctant Traveler with Eugene Levy in it. And from his show, he goes all around he goes everywhere basically. But in season 1, he goes to Utah, and you get to see these really alien-esque like mountains and rock formations that have been slowly eroded away from wind and water to create this amazing environment. And that's what inspired me to paint. At the moment on the screen, what you can see me doing is just putting down some sky in the background and giving these mountain shapes a better shape, basically, because I'm going with that Utah-styled mountains and rock formations in an alien-esque type world. And I wanted to give them a bit more detailing before I went in and I started to put in some more features into them. You can go back and do your sky as many times as you want. I might even go back in there once or twice to just tweak it a bit. But we don't have to do it all at the same time. So once you get that sky down, move on to the next stage like I am right now. I'm starting to add in some dark shadows to the mountains in the background, because you'll find when you're looking at photographs of mountain type shapes that the further they are away from the camera, the more hazier and bluer / purpley they become. So if you add in some of that coloring to any of your distant objects, it'll give the illusion of it being that much further away. And what's great about these being your own imaginary type landscapes is that you can decide whatever's in the distance. It can be mountains like mine for my desert, but maybe your desert is in the middle of this landscape that actually has flourishing forests not far away from it. Great, put trees in the background. It could be anything you want it to be. Once your first layer dries, I definitely recommend allowing it to dry. We want to go in and start doing the next layering of just really honing in where these areas are going to be. So because I'm focusing in on a desert space, I wanted to use my orangey colors, my yellowy orange, to really highlight where sand might be and where it's going to be a smoother surface. When you're doing things like this and you want to create something smooth, try to use, if you have on hand, a softer paintbrush, or or when you put your paintbrush down, just move it in one direction. Don't move your paintbrush too much around. Go in the same direction. So if you're going lengthwise, go lengthwise. If you're going, horizontal, go horizontal. Next up, I'm actually adding in some of that peach tone that I really liked. I'll point out, typically in paintings, you want to have some contrast between your colors so that they pop more. But what's so great, I think, about deserts and sand and things like that is that there are a multitude of colors there and they kind of blend in with one another. And I really liked how the peach tone blends in with the sandy yellow that I chose to go with. And in some areas it sticks out more because it's got different colors layered on top and underneath and things like that. But it adds a level of intrigue to the image itself. And now that I've done that, I'm going to go in and start giving my desert landscape some bushes, because I thought it was so interesting when I was watching that show and looking at photographs of Utah's desert, which, by the way, if you are interested in doing the same kind of visual as I am doing and you want to look up that space, you can go to a website called Unsplash. They have royalty-free images that you can use as your visual inspiration if you just want to look for something to help boost that creativity. And in those photos and in the video that I saw, there are these bushes that are very spiky looking things that you wouldn't expect to see in a desert, because they kind of look like they're dying, but they're clearly living and flourishing. So I wanted to create that same kind of feature in my landscape, and I'm doing that by creating blobs. I'm not being too literal with the creation of my features of my landscape. Little side note, you could see me just a moment ago moving my paint containers. That's the only downside, I think, so far that I've found to using soft body paints that come in containers like these, is that I don't know where to put them when I'm painting on my small canvases. I need to find a way. Anyways, sidetracked thought, done and over with. For creating different landmarks and features, move your paintbrush differently and use different paintbrush maybe shapes or types. So if you have a multitude of shapes, so you have rounds, filberts, flats, use different ones for different features. Or if you have different brush types but the same brush shape, so like I have all flats because that's my favorite, but not all my brushes are made with the same materials. So some of them are coarser, softer, create more texture than others, so that kind of thing. It'll help add depth and dimension to your paintings. At the moment on the screen, I am just going back in and tweaking my sky. I decided I didn't really like the color that it was, and I wanted to just fine-tune the shapes of the mountains again. And by doing this, I added a little bit more white into the mixture just to brighten it up, because I also found that it was too dark. It wasn't vibrant enough, I think. So by making this a little bit brighter, by adding the white, it helped with having the mountains just stick out a little bit better. And you'll find that in this painting process, for what I'm doing, I'm going to paint over things multiple times. I'm not too committed to what I put down. And I think that's also something that's important to remember for doing your imaginary whimsical landscape today for your desert, is don't be too committed to something. Even if you love it, be okay with covering it up or putting something next to it that might not work or might work. I think it's really when you start mixing things around and letting yourself relax and breathe through it and just enjoy and explore and experiment, that's when the real magic happens. That's when you're going to start creating things that you are truly happy with and feel that just represent you as a creative, you as an artist, or you as somebody that's using art as a tool towards healing. At this stage of the game, when I was painting, I made sure to have a lot of my layers dry in between. I did this by using a floor fan. If you don't have a floor fan, because it's not very common for everyone to have one, you can use a blow dryer. Just like lightly dry your paint and then go in and do your next layer. Or if you don't have the time to dedicate, say, an hour to your painting, you can always come back to it between your layers. So do this and then go out with the kids or work on schoolwork or do whatever it is that you need to do. And then when you have time again later in the day or the next day, come back to it. What I'm doing at the moment is just adding in some highlights to these bushes. So where is the sun hitting them? How bright, how much? Is there a big shadow to it? Is it not? Just things like that. It creates depth. You can go about doing this by just mixing the same color with, say, white to lighten it, or you can go in and mix it with other colors and have a multitude of layers. It's all going to come down to your own personal preference. I decided to stick with just adding more white to my mixture to lighten it. So in that way, it's just like a variation and staying within a very structured color palette with this split complementary color palette that I'm using. But I want you guys to do your desert landscape however you feel is best for you. I would love to see your creations if you do end up creating your own. So if you feel comfortable sharing it, tag me in it on Instagram if you want to post it there. If you don't, that's cool. But, in case you do, let me know. Or just let me know in the comment section below whether or not you enjoyed painting yours. I do want to note, just so you guys are aware, that at this stage, I'm putting a lot of detail into my sand and my bushes, and I'm completely ignoring my mountains. And I have a reason for this, because the mountains in the forefront and the rocks and stones, I want to do those closer to the end because the top pieces of them are going to be what's jutting out. And I know eventually I'm going to be covering a lot of the things that I might be painting right now. So at this stage, I'm starting to grab my smaller paintbrushes to put in more details and adding in certain things that might not be normal in a desert, like these little patches of bright spots that I'm doing right now. But in my whimsical place, I like it. It adds interesting, eye-catching moments for it. And when you do things like that, try to remember to spread out your colors as well. So don't have just one color in one spot. To have a more even image that you're creating, you want to have your colors spread throughout it. Have some balance. If you're feeling like it's not balanced, take a moment and take a step back and then look at your painting. I'm a huge fan of stopping, taking a step back, looking at it as a whole, and then going back into it. Now, at this stage, I'm going to bring back my mark making tools to add some more textured and details. Because the bushes that I was inspired by have spikiness to it, I want to start adding some more spiky features. So I'm actually going in and just creating some marks within the darker color with my wax crayons. I'm going to also go back. I do this later on and you see it on camera, but I don't want to forget. I also go back and I go in and I do this again, but with Posca pens to add some extra darkness and highlights. You'll find that my painting today doesn't have a lot of darks and lights. I'm not using a lot of blacks or white to create much color variation, and I'm doing that for a reason. I want this to be playful and fun and popping. I find this color palette and the colors that I chose to work, they just have this very vibrant pop, and I want to keep that kind of emotion and like just energy into the entire painting. So that's why when I went back in to do my mountains, like I'm doing right now, I'm not going in and being too heavy-handed with making the forefront ones really brighter by making them really like mixing it with a lot of white or anything like that, or having the shadows be super dark by using a lot of dark tones, like mixing in with the magentas and black and things like that. I'm only doing small color mixing. And at this point, when I started looking at to where the mountains were sticking out, I felt like I didn't have enough. So I wanted to go in and add some more smaller ones here and there. I just felt like it helped even out the balance of the painting. And it's totally okay at this point to start covering things that you've been working on. Even if you're like, but I love this color, it's okay. Paint over it, add some extra features, and just remember that tall items do cover different ones in the background. This might be a little flatter than normal. This could be anything you want it to be. Today's instructional, tutorial video isn't really a step-by-step, this is how I created this flower, this is how you can create this flower, because what we're doing is creating something from our own imaginations. So that's why I keep saying, make it how you want it to look, or, just let go and create what you want to create. I want you to express yourselves and have fun making something that's completely made up. It can be inspired by your favorite book or TV show, your favorite movie, somewhere that you've visited before and you're just going to pull on memory to create it. It could be you made up an imaginary world in your mind and this is where your characters live or a place that they might visit. Just have fun with it. So right now I am adding a little bit lighter detailing into the mountains, but I didn't do too much. And right now I'm also going to add in some more spiky details. So if you want to create spiky bushes, there are so many different ways you can go about it. You can create one by using paintbrushes for the entire bush and just spike them all the way out. You can do small little spiky details like I'm doing right now at the top. It's all about implying what you want to create, which is why I'm making sure that not every single bush gets the same spike to it. I'm just implying this feature into it because we're creating, abstract landscapes. It doesn't have to be literal with what we're doing. It can just be implied. Now we are getting into the stage where I'm starting to just put in these smaller details. So I am reaching the end of how this landscape is going to be created, where I'm putting in the final spikes. I'm going to go back in and start using some of my Posca pens to add line work and dots and different things like that. I would like to create more tutorials for this channel. So I want to hear from you guys. What are some of the things that you would love to learn how to do or make and paint? So please let me know in the comment section below. If you have a certain type of flower that you really love and you want to know how to create it, or if you're just really into doing abstract landscapes and you want to see more like this, let me know and I'll do my best to compile a list so I can start creating more fun things that you guys can do during your creative time while you use art as a tool towards healing. And before we reach the end of the video, I just want to let you guys know, if you are new towards using art as a tool towards healing or art in general, My channel is all about helping you guys get to know art supplies, creating different paintings, and generally just using art as a tool towards healing. You know, how to breathe, find peace, and create something that you feel happy about. So please hit that subscribe button if that is something you are interested in. If you liked today's video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know in the comments section below. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. And until next time, stay magical.